I'm seeing a very big connection now to the upskilling that you talked about earlier, right? Because having an agent that can not only have the skills to and the compassion to really listen and understand and solve the problem at hand, but to see a challenge that has an opportunity to cross sell and upsell at the same time, that's not a low level agent kind of responsibility or task. So is it back to your training? Is it back to finding the right kind of people to fill that kind of a role? How do you make sure you have the team members that can be trained but handle that kind of responsibility?
Yeah, that's a great question, Steve. So one of the books I've recently shared with the support team was Never Split the Difference. And so using some of the techniques in there around mirroring, right? So when you're on the call and you're trying to build trust and immediately de-escalate the situation, using that as a quick tactic by simply repeating the last few words that they said or paraphrasing the statement. And then we also talk about some other soft skills like tone of voice. And so playing into those soft skills, also with that understanding of, okay, we're all one big team at the end of the day, just because we're here to solve the problem doesn't necessarily mean that we only want to stay focused on that. And so that's where that sales enablement piece kind of came into play of, okay, we're going to see every interaction as that opportunity to talk about what are other things that we can do to offer to help when it makes sense, right? Because we don't want to do that when it doesn't make sense. If somebody's truly upset and we just need to fix the problem and they only have 2 minutes, we know that's not the time to bring it up. But if it's somebody that we have that ongoing relationship with, or it is something like that example I gave, where we can find that immediate way to solve that problem with that upsell opportunity, that's where that opportunity to expose the team to how do you navigate those situations. So something I do as well as my managers is we do one-on-one coaching sessions. So we'll listen to some of the calls that are recorded with the team. We'll also review cases with them. So we do a daily and weekly case review. And then we talk about those examples and then we'll share those stories with the team. So that way everybody can keep learning from each other.
So I have to believe that you have some KPIs that you're tracking that are non-traditional for a support team, right? Like, can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I think then those KPIs translated to the C-suite is probably one of the biggest parts of this story. But you tell me.
Yes. Well, some of the things that we were tracking initially, right, and this was just a baseline of things everybody should be tracking were, our response time, resolution time, things that are in our service level agreement. But then beyond that, we wanted to understand how are we actually impacting the customer's business? So one report that we do for our customers is courtroom utilization. And that's really important for them because it allows them to determine if they should build new courtrooms, if those courtrooms can be repurposed. They don't really have another source where they can get that information from other than from our company. And so that's a metric that's huge for them to be able to see what is that overall percentage and then tie that back to the number of issues that they're having in a courtroom to give them really a more holistic picture of what's going on. So if it's courtroom that's highly utilized, when there's a higher amount of support tickets, that kind of correlation can make sense. But then also revisit and give an upsell opportunity of, okay, if it's an older courtroom and it's highly utilized and they're having a lot of support issues, then that could tell that court, oh, maybe we need to spend some more money and invest in rebuilding this courtroom or re-outfitting it with new software and hardware so we can see that business outcome. So that's just one example of kind of a non-traditional metric. So when we're thinking about that, that correlates back to churn, right? Because if it's some of our large enterprise customers we're providing those insights to, that helps reduce that. But then also thinking about things like, okay, how many times is that customer now going to be willing to give a referral to other court systems as a result of that? And so while these things are harder to track and they're not traditional, it's something that's been a really good gauge for us to allow what I kind of call that trust accelerator when they're trying to build those relationships with customers quickly to be able to have a good sense of how crucial is our software and our solution back to their business.